Good morning, guys. This is the intro to the intro of the Chill Filtered podcast that we did. It was an amazing time. Those guys over there are doing really cool stuff. I was a little saddened that Cole couldn't be there, but Bryan and I, we had a great time. And I just wanted to give you a little preface on that, just so you didn't think it was just their podcast. And if it's extra crispy, that's not because of my editing skills. That's their editing skills. I got the file directly from them, edited already. So y'all be good, and we will catch you on the next one. This one is absolute banger, so get ready for that. Keep your spirits up.
Y'all want some butter bread? Welcome once again to this episode of the Chill Filtered podcast, where we drink whiskey so you don't have to, but you probably should, you probably are, and that is why we like you. Today's episode is number 344, and it is a Texas whiskey special. We got a special guest today. As you can see, as you can hear, no Cole today, but it is just me and the whiskey shaman here. And he has graciously provided for me a blind flight of Texas whiskeys. Now, all I know is they're Texas whiskeys. Don't know anything else about them, but we'll go through them one by one. But before we get into any of that, before anything else, before you even find out who the whiskey shaman is, a little bit of business first. So we got Instagram. Whiskey Shaman's got an Instagram page. Reach out, just say hi, ask us how it's going. Ours is Chill Filtered Podcast, and his is _Whiskey Shaman.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, good. And hit us up also about our Discord servers. If you're looking to join a little community, chat a little bit about whiskey, make some whiskey friends. We each have Discord servers too. So hit us up about those too. I know Whiskey Shamans is a little new here, so he'll love to intro that on the show as well. So that's it for the business though. Let's get down to the real business. Whiskey Shaman, tell us all about you. Tell us about your show. Tell us about everything, but most importantly, tell me about the barbecue competition you were at.
Yes, sir. No, this is it's been a long weekend. I just now got back from it. But yeah, I mean it's been crazy. It literally has been crazy. I slept 2 hours Friday night into Saturday. And then we just cooked brisket, ribs, chicken, everything you could think of. Chili. Oh Lord, there's a bunch, and there's some there's some crazy stories that go along in there. Somebody slapping somebody with a raw brisket. Anyway, it gets super crazy. I decided to do it with a group of mine. It's the Builders Association of our small area over here, and they just kind of put it on. It's like the 15th year they've done it, and it was so much fun. I am exhausted, but ready to get some whiskey in me for sure.
Nice. The lack of sleep, was it because you were like tending to a brisket all night, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, we stayed up pretty late, and I had actually brought a whiskey flight for everybody to drink, but they were pounding beers all day. So I didn't really want to get into it with them too much. So I made my little crew an old fashioned, which we do sometimes. I made an old fashioned, went to go tend the fire. And then I said, I'll take first watch. First watch lasted till about 4:45 in the morning, which was pretty good. And that's when all the creepy stuff came out at night, after everybody goes to bed, all the weirdos come out and they start, knocking people over and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it got a little hairy. And then the guy who was the showman for our group, he came out and took over the rest. I went and laid down for an hour. We lost power in the RV. Our generator went out. So so it was freezing cold in there. Nice. I'm Central Texas, so and at night it gets pretty chilly. So it got a little cold. Didn't even take my boots off. I just slept through it. And we did that camp sleeping, and
everybody cuddle up with the smoker to keep warm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I woke up about 6:30, something like that. went back out and we started rocking and rolling again. So,
Nice.
yeah, had a bunch of coffee to wake me up and we were good to go. So slept like a baby last night. I will tell you that. Had a good 10 or 11 hours. So yeah,
Perfect.
I think I'll be okay for work tomorrow. So
Nice. Speaking of drinking whiskey, I got an entry buzz here, and I know you've got something too that you
I do.
maybe haven't cracked yet. But
I
my
haven't.
entry buzz here, now this could be one of the pours.
Okay.
So I might be spoiling myself a little bit. So don't say
Okay.
anything. Don't say
Okay.
anything. But
No, don't worry.
you
Okay.
you sent me a sample of this a while back,
Mhm.
and I couldn't help but pick up my own bottle here. I'm
Oh
drinking
yeah.
the Still Austin Madeira Rye, the Madeira Cat
Mm.
here. So that
Oh
is my
wow.
entry buzz today. So what you got?
Absolutely. Well, something a little. I don't look. It is
Oh,
none other than the Found North single barrel from a small group that I've. And look, we're doing that fresh crack on it
man.
right here.
Oh,
I haven't opened this. Obviously, let's do the cork pop on it. Oh yeah,
oh,
not bad.
gorgeous, gorgeous.
In my, I get in camera in my chill filtered glass, of course,
Yeah,
as you would,
nice,
as one
love it.
would. We're gonna pour a little bit of that. I wanted to open it, with good company. So
Yeah.
we'll handle that. So
What's your other Found North experience first? Are you well versed in the Found North world here?
family, especially after doing an episode with Nick, he
Yeah,
sent over quite a few samples. Helldiver so far has been one of my favorites because
yeah,
it just the finishing on it just gave it something a little extra. Batch 10 was great. Batch 5, I think he gave me as well. And batch
yes,
5
I'm sure.
he pulled from his bottle, like you guys have talked about
Yeah,
before. So he was like,
fantastic.
"Man, I'm sorry, I only got this one bottle." And I'm like, "That makes it even more special. It's got some
I
of your
know.
spittle in it. It's gonna be
Yeah,
great."
I
So
know. Yeah, yeah, right.
so
Yeah.
I remember this whiskey when y'all were talking about it and stuff. What finish did it have on it again? If you can tell
So
me.
ours, yeah, ours is the French oak. I
Okay.
couldn't help it but hop up and grab my own
I
too.
know.
Maybe I'll sip a little with you. And the deal is a science experiment where the cooperage, Kelvin Cooperage, they toasted the finishing barrels
Mhm.
using a fuel source of different types of wood.
Okay.
So imagine a whole bunch of finishing barrels, and they grab one, turn it upside down, put it over a pile of American oak, and light
Okay.
the American oak and let that flame up and smoke and toast the barrel, and then do another on a pile of French oak and have the French oak do it. So there's American, French, Spanish, and Amburana. And so
Oh
we
wow.
got to sample American, French, and Amburana, and we ended up going with the French oak because it had this lingering spice well more than the other ones did. It had a longer, more satisfying spice finish than the other
Right.
ones did. So
Right.
yeah, so we
That's
went with that French oak.
that's awesome. And I mean, anything you get from Found North is going to be absolutely fantastic, no matter what they do. And then you do extra stuff to it. It just makes it that much better.
I
It is
know.
so.
And
It is such a nice nose on it.
I've managed to pick up a Spanish oak and
Mhm.
a American. So I'm still missing an Amberon. I haven't even seen one. Some
Right.
online retailer. I haven't even seen anyone post any at all or anything. But the Spanish one lives up to our French. I think
Mm.
I of course I'm biased and love our French the most.
Right.
But the Spanish one is a close second place. But
Mhm.
this American one I got from El Cerrito in
Mhm.
California,
Right.
man, it's nowhere near the Spanish and the French, man.
Really?
This American one, I think it's char zero. I think it's uncharred.
Oh,
It's either
okay.
char one or char zero, and it's just like there's not really anything going on. But ours has this like deep cinnamon
Yes,
spice.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thick.
So you had asked me in the intro, and we were talking about barbecue. I didn't know if
Mm,
you wanted me to go into my kind of my background and or if you just want to talk being because we had talked. You had said something a while back about being a girl dad, and I commented on that and was like, "Hey, I'm a
yeah,
girl dad too, so I know all about that." Only
good,
my girl is 17 years old, so it's
nice.
it's it's an ongoing journey with her.
Yeah, you
Driving
have
and
a whole level of complication there that Cole and I don't understand.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's the light of my life, but at the same time, yeah, it'll make you pull your hair out for sure, for sure.
Nice.
Especially with driving, and we're actually going next week to go look at colleges, and I'm like, It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But
I
it's
know.
one. Yeah, it sucks. It
I
sucks.
know. I can still picture when my mom and I went to the college that I ended up going to, and like I have, like a very vivid one shot memory. That's kind of, I don't know if everybody operates that way, but like I remember that I went there and I remember that I did things, but like if I try to recall an actual picture, like boom, I can see us in the
Mhm.
cafeteria at the college, and like that's my like memory that I pull, and I can actually recreate like the picture in my mind.
Right.
So yeah, I remember those days for sure, but obviously on the kid end, not the
Yeah.
parent end.
Right. Right. It's gonna be different, but at the same time, you know what? When you can't keep them underneath your wing forever, you got to let them
Totally.
go, and hope that they became good humans. That's
Yeah.
all you can ask for. Like you tell them about not doing drugs and abstaining from other things that happen in college. And I'm like, is all you can do is say, hey, here's the door. I hopefully gave you a strong background. And, she's a good kid. I know she is. She's going to do well. But then when you get thrown out to the wolves, you kind of got to, you know, see what happens. And hopefully she doesn't flub too much. But, that's part of life is we make mistakes and we learn from them. Hopefully we learn
Yeah.
from them. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know. We'll
And
see.
yeah, hopefully the learning was there to make wise decisions. It's
Absolutely.
like you
Absolutely.
can't. I don't want to. I feel like I don't know how I'm going to parent in
Right.
10, 18 years, but like I don't want to tell her to not do stuff necessarily.
Hmm.
But I want her to think through whether it's a calculated wise decision or not. That's what I want.
But you and I both were kids once, and your brain doesn't work that way at that age. You're just
Yeah,
more inclined to be like, oh, this is new and fun. Let's try this. So it's
exactly.
like,
I
we'll
know.
we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah. Is she staying at least like somewhat close to home, or are you like
Yeah,
flying
yeah.
across the country?
We're going up to Abilene, which is about two and a
Oh yeah.
half 2.5 hours from here.
Yeah.
And she's looking at ACU and Hardin Simmons both. She's really into art and stuff like that. So we're
Mhm.
thinking Hardin Simmons, smaller college, little less people, So ACU has all the big campus and all the huge food court with the Chick-fil-A and all the things, but this one
Yeah.
is a little more down to earth, and it's very focused on your specific set of skills and just trying to make those better. So we're pushing her one way, but obviously we don't want to hinder her knowledge because it's her choice at the end of the day, which as a father it's very difficult because I'm like, no, it's my choice. You're going to
Yeah.
do what I say. And now you got to kind of turn over that leaf and be like, hey, do whatever you think is going to be best. And
Yeah.
she's like, yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Nice. Was it an art focused school, or is it all around
No, it's
university?
it's it's an all-around university. It's just they have
Yeah.
26 different degrees in art that you can get.
Oh,
So
very cool.
whereas ACU or some of the other ones, we looked at Texas Tech and all those other ones, they have like 5 or 6. And so she can do
Yeah.
anything from graphic design to pottery or sculpting
Yeah.
or whatever. So it kind of gave her a bigger gamut because she loves to draw and she loves to do stuff like that. But which obviously, as we know, in the world that's coming up right now, it's very computer generated. So I said it might have to be graphic design or something like that. I said, yeah, you can do all my ads and all my stuff for that. I mean,
I
like you
know.
can do a bunch of stuff like that for me. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. No, that'll all be great practice.
Absolutely.
And my wife is a graphic designer.
Awesome.
And she's the one who does all our YouTube thumbnails and everything. So we get to kind of cash in on that a little bit. But yeah, she's a graphic designer for a software company.
That's
So she
awesome.
does
That's
all
awesome.
their marketing materials and things like that. And she's got side business that she does too, where she does custom illustrations for people, and she's just a rock star with it. So yeah.
Sweet. I might need to get in
Yeah.
contact with her about some stuff because my thumbnails are horrible. I will tell you that right now. They're click and paste. Here's the picture. Oh, I forgot to remove the background. Oh crap. It's just,
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those things. Y'all's are pretty crispy. So I will
Thank you.
say that she does a good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, she crushes it. She crushes it. Back to barbecue though.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, do you have well, trade secrets. So obviously only
Mhm,
tell me what you want to tell me,
mhm.
but do you have something that's specific to you, a particular method, the way that you do things, or like, what's your favorite thing to do, smoke?
Okay, so Texas barbecue is unlike any other barbecue out there, right? We do it low and slow, as low as you
Mhm.
can get it. We do post oak fire. Sometimes we'll throw a little mesquite in there just to give it a little, because mesquite heats up really fast. So if you need to get your temp up a little bit, throw a piece of mesquite in there. But too much
Interesting.
mesquite can make it kind of acrid. You don't want acrid barbecue, and it's the barbecue that kind of makes you burp a little bit when you eat it from the
Uh,
mesquite. So we don't want that,
okay.
right? So on our brisket, we cook two different briskets, a Kushu Wagyu brisket and then a prime cut. The prime cut was like 17 pounds. After we trimmed it, it turned out to be about 15 and a half, maybe. And the Kushu, I mean, it was 12, and we probably took half a pound off of it. We didn't take much off of it. And unfortunately, the more expensive, very expensive brisket did not turn out the way we wanted it to.
Hmm.
It was dry, and we were babying that thing because I know that it cooks a little faster because of the intermuscular fat and all that stuff. It cooks a little
Yeah.
faster, and we had it way off the heat source, so it was getting as low and slow as possible, and it just wasn't as good. So the prime
Yeah.
that we spent less than half on ended up winning us sixth place. So
Sixth place.
sixth place
Yeah.
out of 40 teams.
Hey.
And these guys are professionals. Like I'm a plumber by trade, so I am not a professional barbecue person,
Yeah.
but I've done a little bit around a pit. And when you're standing around a barbecue pit for 14 hours, just hanging out with buddies, that's some of the best time you can have. We had some
Awesome.
very cool talks late at night. And we'll get into the whiskey we drank later, but you get into everything from religion to government to all the things, and
Yeah.
everybody has their opinions on it, and it's super cool. It's a
Yeah,
lot
for
of
sure.
fun. And so trade secrets, here's the number one seasoning I use, and it's really hard: salt and pepper.
I knew that's exactly what you were going to say.
Okay, so 2/3 pepper to 1/3 salt.
Oh,
So
I wasn't
pepper
expecting.
pepper heavy, and I use 16 mesh pepper, so it's the more heavily ground or thick, coarser.
Larger
Yeah,
particle.
and
Yeah.
then so when you stick it on there, it makes a crust, like a pepper
Yeah.
crust on it,
Yeah.
and that's what you want. You're trying to get that bark, and then when you cut it, you just slice, and then you have that crusty bit on top. Because when you're doing a competition, though, it is different because they get one bite. That's it of your brisket. They get one bite. So it has to be the most flavorful bite. So what we did and this is trade secret, but I don't care because everybody does it. We actually injected the brisket
Yeah.
with some sort of injection. It had Worcestershire sauce and all kinds of other
Nice.
the guy I was working with, he created all the sauces, and I was like, I don't normally do that. I'm a purist when it comes to barbecue, but let's try it. And it was phenomenal. It was a great
Nice.
brisket. So
Awesome.
and then when we did ribs and chicken, we injected the chicken as well and got third place on chicken. So there's
Nice.
something to injecting. I will tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense though, adding the moisture back in and
Right.
everything. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned chili earlier too. Did you compete in a chili
I
too?
did. I did. Did not place. They did the first 10 places, did not place in it. I've been perfecting my chili recipe for the past couple of years because a local distillery, I don't think it's in the lineup, but anyway, is Andalusia whiskey. And they make
Mm.
single malts, American single malts. They have a peated, a smoked one. They had a chili cook-off. I went the first year that they had it, and I won first place on it. And so
Mm.
I said, okay, cool. This is going to be a thing for me now. And so I started doing that. Well, the next year, this gets into a little background, I guess. During that time, I developed testicular cancer
Oh,
and
dang.
had to go through chemo and do all the things. And the hair
Yeah.
and beard are coming back pretty good now. It's been
Heck
right
yeah, they are.
as of right now, we're at a year
Mhm.
off of treatment and stuff. And so did that. Well, when I came back, it's normally in March, so it's coming up pretty soon. I did it the next year. Well, my taste buds were shot from all the chemicals
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Right.
my chili the next year was very salty because I couldn't
Oh,
taste it. So I just kept adding salt and kept adding. So
yeah.
the chili, and then that chili that I made, I was trying to be more traditional because chili actually was invented in San Antonio.
Really?
The people, a lot of the Mexican ladies, they would make it, but it was chili, like with chilies. Like there was no
Yeah.
tomato sauce, there was nothing. It was literally chilies, and so it
Yeah.
was more like a mole or something like that. And then they
Right.
added meat to it, and it was super spicy. So I tried to represent that and like go back to basics, and it just wasn't good. It just and so
Yeah.
this year I did one called Over the Top Chili. And so basically, you make all your vegan ingredients, all the spices and stuff in the pot. And I did use tomatoes, which some people don't like that, but I did do that, cooked it, and then got all of the meat and made a big ball on top of the chili, seasoned
Yeah.
it really well, and just smoked it for a couple of hours. And then
That's
all the
cool.
drippings went into the chili and then crumbled it
Yeah.
up and put it in there. So I
Yeah.
thought it was excellent. The spice level was good. Everything was there. But, every once in a while, somebody makes a better chili than you. So it
Yeah, true,
happens.
true.
It
Do
happens.
I recall correctly that there's a thing with Texas chili where beans are not allowed? No beans.
They are illegal in the state, actually. If you
Illegal.
if you show up with beans, they kick you out. They will not let you
Dang.
have beans. Beans is a whole nother category that we did for the barbecue cook-off. So you have chili and you have beans. That they're
Yeah.
totally different. And you can't do the white chili or anything like that. It has to be chili con res, which means with beef.
Okay.
It has to be that.
Yeah.
Some people use turkey or something like that, but it needs to be, the way it is, just ground meat. Not and because they don't want you to slice up brisket, they don't want you to have. Some people chunk up like big pieces of steak or something and put it in there. They don't want that.
Yeah.
Nothing. It has to be smaller than your pinky nail. Whatever's in
Yeah.
there. Some people put corn, macaroni. I've seen all kinds of stuff in chili, and I'm like, that's
Dang.
not chili. That's not Texas
Yeah, I
Red
know.
for sure.
Yeah, macaroni, that'd be weird.
Yeah, it would.
I love how you said beans are illegal. Like I know you mean in the competition, but I'm just
No,
imagining like
they are.
everyday person in their home and they're making chili and they like look over their shoulder and they pour a couple of beans in and then the police kick the door in and they
Yes.
come. You're
Yes,
under arrest.
I mean, it happens. I've seen it before. No, it's a big thing, and it's like it's one of these things that we fight over. Like there's different people because Texas is a melting pot of different ethnicities, and like there's some people that come from say California or something like that, and they love beans in their chili, and they're like, hey man, it might be good. But we're like, we don't care. It's not going to work here. And so on some of those chili competitions, they will have a separate category as chili with beans.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, you're going to go on that one,
Right. Go over there.
Yeah, exactly. Go over there. You're not in the big boys. That's for, save that for the ladies.
Right. One last thing here while I'm thinking about it. I also received this from you here. Talking about advertising and talking about graphic design and stuff, man. Challenge coin. What an awesome idea. I'm holding it up in front of the camera here. The Whiskey Shaman challenge coin with the tagline, keep your spirits up.
Yep. So
what was are you a challenge coin collector? What was
absolutely.
that just a fun idea?
Absolutely. No, for the longest time I was a huge supporting member of the Whiskey Tribe. If I'm sure you know them. And they would on their Patreon, they would give away challenge coins every 3 months or whatever. Oh. And so I had a stack. I mean, we're talking 30 of them because as soon as they became monetized in their little thing, when they were opening their distillery, I was, sending them checks every month. I was sending them checks. And so I had a stack of them, and I wanted to make them because they're a cool keepsake. And, the ones that I make, they fit on top of a Glencairn like that. So it'll keep the buggies out. Yeah, that's why it
tried that.
No, it has that little ridge. It'll fit on top of a Glen. And so like it'll keep the buggies out, because if you've ever sipped a whiskey outside during the summer, you get those little gnats and stuff like that. I just put my coin on it, and obviously it's great advertising. Those are available. Just email me. I'll get you one. And I do have Glencairns as well. So
yeah.
Anyway,
man,
we're not trying to sell stuff here.
No, but it's all good. Yeah. Anything else like that? Yeah, feel free to shout it out.
Absolutely.
But I think it's time to get down to business. What do you say? I pour these whiskeys up. We'll go through them one by one, and you'll tell me all about them.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, cool. Stick around. We'll be right back after this break. All right, everybody, welcome back. So here we are in the drinking portion of the show. Now I've got the 4 Glencairns lined up in front of me here. Very varying colors on these. I'll hold them up to the camera later, but man, it is actually, I believe it almost looks a little descending order. We're starting with the dark first, but now Randall, you know the answer key. You know what I have in front of me, and you know which number is which, right?
I do.
Okay. And you know what? Just for full disclosure, to know that I'm not cheating here, here is the sealed
envelope
answer key.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
so anyway,
I turned it in as a blind for you guys, and we do our blinds a little bit differently. We do tape, type, all those different things, and then the distillery. Trying to do a bottle guess or something like that. So and then I made a little point system on it, but you don't have to go by. You go by your point system if you want to. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
The whole point is it good, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'll wing it on the guesses here. I'll guess some things if I can guess some things here. But mostly I just kind of want to give a feel for like, what do I think? Is it good? Kind of general strongest notes, and then maybe how much I'd pay for it. I'll do that one too.
Okay, yeah, please.
And then you can do a cool reveal here and tell us what it is. Awesome. I don't suppose. Do you have the bottles off camera a little bit?
I do.
Oh, perfect. This man is a professional.
I mean, I try. And I don't know if I talked about this earlier, but I have a podcast as well that I do, and I talk to cool people. I've had multiple distilleries on, some of the same ones that y'all have had, JT Mellick, Found North, all those guys have been on. I'm trying to get Del Bach to get on, but anyway, it's a thing. But and I also do personal podcasts where I'm talking about distillation practice, and we deep dive on specific regions of Scotland and stuff like that, because I'm not just a bourbon guy. I like all gamuts of whiskey, and I love to dive into everything. I'm a level 3 whiskey sommelier, so that kind of helps. And so part of the sommelier program is you're a storyteller, and we're telling stories about different things. So I love to deep dive on these distilleries that I know won't come on the podcast right now, and just say, hey, these guys are doing really cool things. Go check them out. And I always maybe pour it with a whiskey while we're doing it as well. So that's kind of that spiel.
Well, since you mentioned Scotch, I got to admit here on our last episode, actually, I think it was the last one, Cole was talking about Bunnahabhain 18 and talking about how good it was. And it was his entry buzz, I think. And anyway, he kind of talked me into it. It ended up being here. It was here at One Total Wine, because I kind of looked around. And the one that I normally go to, it was there and it wasn't anywhere else. So I was like, dang, is this going to like just be here now? And then suddenly it's going to be gone again for 6 more months or whatever. And it was like $140. And I was like, I feel like 18 years is a great like benchmark age for Scotch, where it's like I've got the Bruichladdich 18, which is there-ish. And it's like, I kind of want to just start grabbing 18s from like a bunch of different distilleries. So I was like, fine, I'll get the Bunnahabhain. And actually, like I went to Total Wine on like a Wednesday or something, and I was talking to people there, and I was like, okay, well, I'll think about it. And I was carrying it around the store, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, maybe not today. Maybe I won't impulse buy it today, and I put it back on the shelf. And then sure enough, I met some buddies there for the opening on Friday morning, and there it was again, still sitting there. And I was like, okay, I'll carry it around a little bit again today and see how it feels today. And then finally that day, it was after, I don't know if the tariff stuff is going to affect the prices of all that.
Yeah.
I'm not a political guy at all. I have no idea what the heck's going on, but anyway, that was kind of like, I was thinking about that and the fact that they only had 2 and the other Total Wines in the area didn't have any. I was like, dang it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and buy this. So I sipped that once or twice over the weekend, and it's very good. The unpeated Isla, man, unpeated Isla is kind of my jam now.
It really is. And it gives you, I'll say it like this. It's smoky, but not smoky at all. You have the phenols there and it could be just their pot still or whatever they're going out of. You wash it out, but you're not going to get that peat out of there, because it gives you that like maritime influence on there, and you're like, this isn't peated, right? This isn't peated, right? Like you're like, just keep going back to it, and you don't get any smoke or brine or anything on it, but you're like, I kind of do. but I
Yeah.
don't, but I kind of do. And it's really intriguing. It makes you go back to it more and more and just smell it and, sit with it for a freaking hour going, smelling your nose off in it. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
All right. We have somehow slid back into just shooting the breeze.
It
Love
happens. It happens.
I know, right?
This is one. It's going to be one of those.
All right. Glass one. Oh, so on the nose, I'm getting heavy oak, sugary, sweet, thick, heavy oak.
Mm-hmm.
And on the palate, this is very, very flavorful. It's pretty thick, not like crazy thick, but it is quite flavorful. And I feel like medium-ish proof is keeping it in check here.
Okay.
So I think that it's a smidge over 100, and I didn't Google this. I'm kind of going off memory here, but what I'm honing in on is a Garrison Bros, the double oaked one, whichever one's the double oak. Balmorhea.
Yeah.
And I think that's 107 proof. Do I remember correctly?
Yeah.
So I think that's where my guess is landing here, is that this is a mid-ish proof Garrison, kind of low age, but heavy, like a double oak influence to back up the flavors here. So how did I do? Oh, how much would I pay for this? Like, actually, though, not considering that it's Garrison Bros, there's so much flavor here that it does warrant a high-ish price tag. I think there's close to $100 worth of flavor in here. So I think I'm gonna stick around. I'd be happy paying 90-ish for this.
Okay, cool. You are right on one thing, wrong on everything else. So
solid.
Yeah. Do you want the reveal right now?
I do. I'm ready.
All right. So it is none other than Rebecca Creek Double Barrel Spanish Oak.
Heck yeah. Okay,
so if you don't know about Rebecca Creek, they're out of San Antonio, Texas, and they are both a distillery and a NDP. So these are actually MGP barrels that they took and they put them in Spanish oak for 4 years. They took the distillate, put it in Spanish oak. It's a 75-21-4 mash bill. They put it in Spanish oak for 4 years, and then they put it in a recharred bourbon oak. And then for another 2 years. So it's a 6-year-old product. And this was a limited edition, and it drove everybody crazy with this whiskey last year. And as you can see, this bottle is gone. I do have another. Oh, there's a smidge left. Why not? Oh, I broke the cork. No, see, I was trying to be cool and
rip it off here. Oh, did you just shove the cork in and then take a sip?
Yeah, no, it broke. The whole thing broke off.
Oh,
like, what the heck are we doing? That's the thing with synthetic corks. The glue job on them isn't the greatest. But this bottle was actually 75. So it wasn't super expensive. But again, they are making their own stuff. Their bottled and bond is 100% theirs. But they said they weren't gonna. And and the proof on this is 124.5.
Oh my gosh. I was hitting me on my palate was nowhere near 120 something.
Yeah, 62%. So so it's a little hot, but and they have some that are up to 128 proof. Which I think I have one in the house because everybody was going crazy for them. And so I picked up a couple bottles because I could find them, right? I picked up a couple of bottles for other people. And then guess what? They were like, oh, no, I already got one. Oh, no, I already got one. So I have, I think, two bottles in the house. And I didn't want to crack it open because, it's just one of those things. I've already gone through it. The hype is kind of over. And now what they're going to do is they're going to drop the proof on them, which this is the bad part about some Texas whiskeys. And I'll say it right now. They're going to drop the proof to about 100. And they're going to raise the price to about 150.
Boo.
Oh, exactly. It's a great product. I'm a little iffy on the distillery. I'll tell you that right up front. One of my good buddies actually worked for them. He was their little tour guide and stuff. And he said and this is no dig to any. I understand business is first. I get it. They didn't really treat their employees very well, and that's the biggest part of any business. Take care of your employees. So. It kind of turned my nose up to it. It's great juice, obviously, but it kind of turned my nose up to it. So, yeah.
So, Rebecca Creek. Now, Cole and I, we both met at a friend's house for the solar eclipse last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was.
Last year.
The solar eclipse. So yeah, we went to San Antonio,
Okay.
and I barely had Rebecca Creek on my radar. And actually, come to think of it, I think Rebecca Creek was only on my radar because of conversations that were happening in a
Yes.
Discord, and it was
Mhm.
probably you
Yes.
in your drinking buddies Discord.
Yes.
So anyway, we went to Rebecca Creek,
Okay.
and we were hoping to do like a tour and stuff, but I think we went on a day where they were closed, and so we ended up just going to their bar. And
Mhm.
I am certain that we had a pour of this at the bar,
Yes.
and I had also heard that they had like a 16-year.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I think we were on the lookout for that. And
Yeah.
actually, I think they might have been selling that, but it was like 200 or
Yeah.
250 bucks. And so we were like, I mean, 16 years, super cool and
Yeah.
all, but I'm not about to just drop like 200
Yeah.
plus on
Well, it was 16-year-old light whiskey. That
Oh,
was I think it was double oaked as well. So it had
okay.
some darker notes in it as well, but
Yeah.
16-year-old MGP light whiskey. So
Did
I
you try
mean,
it?
yeah, I got to try a sample of it. It was good. It just I don't know for the price. Nah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm a thrifty drinker, so I
Nice.
always look at price is a big thing. Like and it's unfortunate with bourbons and American whiskeys is the price really does matter. But when you get to scotches, the minimum price is what it is. So you're going to pay $250 for a good bottle of scotch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's just one of those things, and then you were talking about the tariffs. I mean, that's only going to go up from here on out, of course. And also it's going to be harder for them to get bourbons and things from America. So we'll see what happens there. So, I had a whole podcast about that. So go check that one out.
Nice.
Little
Recent?
rant. Yeah. It was 104. So it was probably 2 weeks ago. Right when the whole Brown Foreman thing
Oh, yeah.
happened. I
Yeah.
released one there talking about the FDA wanting to put another warning label on the whiskey for cancer causing, which obviously hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
Cancer causing carcinogens in there, which we all know as whiskey drinkers, we all know that whiskey's not the greatest for you, right? We
Yeah.
know
Right.
that. We know what we're getting into when we open a bottle, but at the same time, like I feel like it gives it a very negative connotation, and they're doing it to all spirits, not just whiskey. So it's not just they're not pinpointing one out, but like the fact that they're doing that, which they did it to cigarettes, and guess what? Everybody still smokes cigarettes, so it
I know.
didn't really
Right.
turn people away. But like it's just another dig to whiskey, just punching them in the gut one more time, saying, "Oh, now you got to have this funky label on there. It's going to make people go cancer. I don't want that." So
Yeah, it just made them more informed on their decision to do what they want with their body. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
All right, I am on number 2 now.
Okay, let's go.
So now number 2, I am dead set on number 2 being a single malt. That the Rebecca Creek from MGP, of course, that was a
Mm-hmm.
bourbon. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you said 75 corn.
75.
I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so number 2 is super malty for me. Well, okay, no, let me dial it back. It is not super malty. Just for me, a maltiness really shows through here, where I believe that this is a single malt. I believe also, again, that this is kind of medium-ish proof. Actually, maybe
Okay.
even a little less.
Okay.
This could be lower than 100 for me. I'll
Okay.
take another sip here in a sec, but I was also getting, I think ultimately where my guess is going to land on finish is unfinished. I
Okay.
feel like this is unfinished, but there's a nice red wininess to this.
Okay.
Shows up a little more on the nose than the palate. So actually it's the palate, the lacking of the red wininess on the palate is what's driving my decision to say that it's not finished.
Got it.
But I do get a little jammy red wininess, especially on the nose on this. No idea on distillery. I'm not even going to try. But I'll take another sip here while maybe you tease a little bit what this could or
So
may or may not
the
be.
funny thing is, those of you who are watching this, I'm seriously trying to have a poker face, but it's so hard. It's so hard for me to have a poker face with this because I'm looking at the bottle right now, going, "Oh Lord, oh Lord."
Yeah, nice.
This one has some controversy. This distillery has some controversy around it as well, which makes me sad again. I did a podcast with this distillery. The head distiller, super great guy. Just a fountain of knowledge, knew everything about his brand, helped develop the brand, do all the things with it. And then we'll get into the reasoning afterwards. But like, I don't know. It's just Texas whiskey it's cowboys and Indians out here, bro. It really is. It's like we are fighting each other and we don't need to. And everybody's supporting each other, but yet some people are just trying to hit that, that one market that basically is people who like whiskey for not the right reasons. I hate to say it, like they buy it because it's a fancy bottle, or they buy it because it's, high price tag. They don't buy it because it's good whiskey, and so that's really not the market most Texas whiskeys are at. They're at the market of, this is for a whiskey connoisseur to try totally different things, because the distance between these whiskeys is like, you would think you could fit 2 Scotlands in Texas, right? So think maybe not 2, but 1.5 probably. So you think you get somebody from the Gulf Coast at Galveston, right? I have the bottle right here from Coastline. I'm going to do a
cool
review of them here in a second, because I released my podcast with them yesterday, and
nice.
they're out of Galveston, Texas. And then you go all the way up to Denison, where Iron Root Republic is. Those whiskeys are 100% completely different. They go by the same mash bill, dude. They're all kind of doing the same thing, getting local grain, doing all the local stuff, and they are night and day different. So that's the cool thing about Texas whiskey. And I know a lot of people poo-poo it because they think that it's just over oaked crap. It's over oaked crap because they got to try, and I'm not dissing on Garrison Brothers, but they got to try the small batch Garrison Brothers right when it first came out back in 2010. And it was over oaked 2-year and 1-day old bourbon that they dumped, and it wasn't great. But now my bourbon of the year for 2024 was the Garrison Brothers Ladybird, which is
I almost entry buzzed on that. I was between that and the Still Austin, and I decided that the Garrison Bros Ladybird was going to just like saturate my palate.
Oh yeah. No, it's and I know people, not all people. I know you guys don't, but like people like tend to not like finished whiskeys. Like they say, oh, it's not whiskey, it's not bourbon, it's not, which okay, technically TTB regulation, no, it's a distilled spirit specialty. I get it, but at the same time, you finish a whiskey, it makes it taste better. I'm just saying, it just does. Right. Especially Garrison. Garrison takes a finish really well. I've tried most of their finishes, and they are pretty phenomenal. So
yeah, totally agree. Though very early on, probably like for me, very early on, like a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Buddy of mine was a Garrison guy, and he had all the Garrisons. And so we basically drank through all the standard releases and Guadalupe and whatever, and Ladybird and Cowboy. And Ladybird was my favorite. And that because it's so heavy, because it's so thick, the Ladybird fortunately has a medium-ish proof. Is it 114?
Yeah,
does that sound right?
Yeah, 114.
And it's cognac finished. Is that? Oh no, it's cognac's blended in. Is that right?
No, cognac finished and honey finished.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's both 2 finishes on it.
So it's got this bright sweetness to it, and it's not crazy high proof. So it helps cut it down,
absolutely,
flavor wise and palate saturation wise. That I think Ladybird is my favorite, which is why I have one Ladybird and this much left of a Cowboy, and it's like that Ladybird is all the Garrison I need until I finish that Ladybird, and then maybe I'll try something else. But
yeah, and the Cowboy, to me, there's some years they're really good. Then they had that hazmat one that came out that everybody was going after, but to me, it gets to that threshold of, man, there's a lot of oak on here. There's a lot of oak on here because they use smaller barrels, which I'm like, why are you using smaller barrels? You can fill 53s all day long. You have a huge distillery. You can fill the 53s. But they said their flavor profile is in 15s and 25s. So it's like they're using barrels that big and I'm like, and on some of them, it's a 5-gallon barrel. Like that's like homebrewer stuff right there,
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like you're a nationally recognized distillery and you're using 5-gallon barrels, but
like efficiency wise, that's got to take take extra time, man. If you're dumping 5 after 5 after 5 after 5.
I mean, we have a lot of heat loss here, right? So you're going to get a lot of angel share. You're going to get what, six bottles out of that 5-gallon barrel. Like it's not really going to be a whole, but the flavors that are there are obviously very concentrated and very viscous. But we're not talking about Garrison. We're talking about this guy. What do you think about it? See how I transitioned? I transitioned right there, and it just.
I know, yeah. Actually, one last thing, real quick.
Go ahead.
Garrison, I believe they had to engineer their own special barrels with thicker staves to insulate the liquid better to prevent more loss. But that's a whole thing. And then I also loved the idea of a single barrel from Garrison being like 6 bottles. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I bought a single barrel from Garrison, and it's one of 6. Oh man. Anyway, the pour I'm drinking now, I'm still on number 2. The last thing I'll hone in on is the proof. I think where my guess is going to land is just a flat 100 for proof. I'm sticking with the single malt, but you got me scared with that with your poker face comment earlier. So I'm sticking with a single malt that's 100 proof that's not finished. I think that's where my mind's at. How much would I pay for this? I think a bit less. I think I'm sitting around 60-ish for this dollars.
All right, let's do it. This one's super interesting. This is none other than Yellow Rose Distilling. They are out of Houston, Texas. This is their Outlaw Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 75-21-4, finished in mezcal barrels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's 104 proof or 52% alcohol.
Man, now that I know, I'm nosing it, and there's a funky, earthy, like
almost a salinity to it.
Yeah, totally. Because I was just having this conversation the other day with Slugafus on the Discord server. He brought Lafroig Elements 2.0 for me to try. And we were talking about like salinity. Does salinity come from the peat? Is it an artifact? Well, I know, salty sea brine, air, whatever, but like salinity and peat are so closely aligned in the same realm for me, palate wise, that I feel like a majority of what I normally taste and I think is salinity is actually a peatiness. What do you think about that?
Yes, I totally agree, because you think about the peat as they cut it out of the bogs, right? Whereas a lot of them, well, everything's kind of a coastline, but a lot of them are on the coastline. So they're getting that salt spray and it's just going into the ground. It's like seasoning a steak or something like that. It's just penetrating through that dirt and, whatever dead bugs or whatever's in there. It's just penetrating through all of that. So yeah, I feel like, yes, them being coastal regions on the, their rick houses are almost on the bay and stuff like that. They are going to get some salt spray in their rick houses, but I don't think it's going to, you think about those barrel staves are pretty thick. It could get in there. You might see a crust of salt on the outside, but I don't think it's going to get inside the barrel as much. Whereas the peat could be riddled with salt, which then would create that salinity. And it's like, curing that log and making it, like dry aging it.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen cross sections of staves. You've seen how, if something is penetrating the wood, you see the gradient as it makes its way through the wood. I cannot imagine a salinity, sea spray, moisture in the air, like making its way through a stave. Like, there's no way that's where it comes from.
I'm not a chemist at all. I'm a dumb plumber, so don't take my word for it, but
I'm sure you're a great plumber, man.
I am. I've been doing this 25 years. I own my own business. It's a thing, but I'm not a chemist, and I don't know the molecular compound that is going through there to get in there. Now, with all scotches, obviously they lose proof in the barrel, they gain water, so you can get a cast strength 25-year-old Lafroig that's 41% alcohol. I mean, that's just how they are. So if you get any salt or any sea spray that does penetrate, it is so minute, and it would be negligible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm on
Oh,
number
okay.
3 now.
Okay, well, let me tell you the sad story about Yellow Rose,
Oh, yeah.
real fast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they are the Houston-based. They're the oldest distillery in Houston, so that's super cool. And when I talked to the head distiller, he was saying how they have all this stuff going on. They're doing all these new things, and then I got an email from him that said that he was fired from the distillery, and they were going a different route.
Dang.
That different route is they are sourcing MGP barrels, slapping their label on them, and giving them to the public. So
Wow.
as of right now, and this was one of the last, this Mescal finished one was the last series that the head distiller actually had a hand in. They're
Yeah.
sitting on stock of their barrels, like they distilled everything, grain to glass, right? They were sitting on a stock of I think 5,000-6,000 barrels. So once
Mhm.
those get released, it will all be, and they're going to start mixing their MGP with those stock barrels just to get the flavor consistency. So
Transition.
it sucks and it breaks my heart because again, now we're down to 2 Texas whiskeys that are taking a hit, and will I support them? I don't know. I'd have to try, give me 2 years and I'll try a Yellow Rose again and see what the flavor's like. But I just don't like that, you're taking jobs away, which, MGP doesn't need the help right now. But, it's, I don't know. It just hurts my heart because these are people that are wanting to go back into the business and do all the things and do the hard work. And they're just getting, I understand money gets in the way. And I don't own a whiskey distillery, so I couldn't tell you, but I've heard it's, millions of dollars going in and out a year. And when you're sitting on barrels for 4 or 5 years, I think this one was 3 years old, just to let you know.
Okay.
This one's only
Yeah.
3. When you're sitting on those barrels for all that time, you're not making money with it. You're just wasting, not wasting, but you're losing money. And so I understand, like for consistency and stuff like that, they can just get them out and get them on the shelf. I get it, but it's another brand that just petered out, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it stinks. It stinks so bad. But
Yeah. Well, and I can see, I don't have any idea that this is the way that it went down.
right.
But MGP, with the bourbon boom, as people say, and it's on its way out, kind of, and MGP stock has tanked, and I'm sure MGP has a lot of barrels that they need to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that there
For cheap.
are barrels that MGP is selling at a steep discount because
Mm-hmm.
MGP is trying to get rid of barrels.
Mm-hmm.
So for a whiskey brand that may or may not be struggling to stay in business, I can see the attractiveness of buying some cheap barrels
Mm-hmm.
that will help sustain the company for a little bit longer and not have to distill their own product and blah blah blah. Again, I don't know that that's how this went
Right.
down, but like all the things line up here where like that's a world that exists somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were already sourcing their rye whiskey. All their rye whiskey is from MGP 95.5. So I asked him, I said, why don't y'all make the rye? And he's like, it's just cheaper for us to not, rye is a very
Yeah.
tricky grain to distill. And he's like, they do it good. Why not get it from them? And they're literally taking 2-year-old MGP rye and putting it in a bottle and people are buying it. So it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean,
That is
it's a strategy. It's a strategy. And
and that's a strategy that not just they're doing, actually.
Oh,
So Del Bach did the exact same thing.
Mhm.
They've
Yep.
got a release called Sentinel that
Yeah.
is literally 2-year MGP rye that they finished for I don't know how long
Yeah.
in a mesquite barrel,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Or at least a barrel that previously held their mesquite smoked whiskey or something
Right.
like that,
Right.
where they mesquitified the MGP rye to some extent, and that's what their release is. And like I totally get it, that way you
Mhm.
don't have to distill your own rye and blah
Right.
blah blah. Like so it's totally a strategy.
Yeah, buy 10, 15, 20 barrels from them, sit on them for a minute, finish them a little bit and put them out. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, you're still doing your cool stuff over here and then you have like another option for cocktails or whatever else. Like I get the strategy, but at the same time, like, Texas whiskey isn't that old. It's at most, some people say 20 years old. 2008 was about when, and it was a head to head with who came to market first. It was Balcones whiskey out of Waco and Garrison Brothers. Garrison was the first to release whiskey, but Balcones was the first to release good whiskey. So anyway,
shots fired.
Shots fired. And I love the guys at Balcones, and I love the guys at Garrison. But Balcones started with their single malt, and they released single malts, and they released a 1-year-old single malt, which was not great. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't great. But now they're releasing 5, 6, 8 years. I have a one that was finished in Texas live oak trees. And so I can't wait. I haven't dipped into it yet. There's so much stuff on the queue, right? We only have so much time in a day to get through some whiskeys, and it's on the queue. I just haven't hit it yet. It's one of those things.
Can you expand on the live oak? Is that
okay?
Does that mean what I think it means?
No, a live oak is a type of oak here in Texas. It's different than post oak. It has a different flavor profile. Everything's different. And they went to a cooperage. It might have been Independent Stave. I don't remember. And they got 3 barrels made from live oak. And what they did is they put whiskey in the first barrel, let it sit for 2 years. All the barrels. So they let it. How did that work? Yes, they put whiskey in all 3 barrels, pulled one out, let it set it aside, put the other barrel back in that first barrel. So now it's double oaked. And then they let the other one, a reuse. Then they let the other one sit for 4 years in that new barrel. And then they took that 4-year-old one and put it back in that first barrel again. So it's like triple oaked. There's a pamphlet on it you got to go through. It's crazy. And of course, with Balcones, they have a very distinct profile. It's very molassesy because of their huge copper pot stills. They got their pot stills from Scotland. So they are those huge ones like you would see at Glenmorangie or something like that. Right. And so they're doing solely pot distilled everything. So it's super grungy and dirty and just, it's kind of like Texas boys, we're grungy and dirty. Right. but and then they took the other one, they had vatted one, they stuck it in the second barrel. And then they, so they were playing, find the walnut in the cups, they were, and at the very, at the very end, after this is like an 8-year project they've been working on. At the very end, they blended them all together.
Wow.
And there's your release. And so it's first fill, second fill, new oak. It's crazy. I know, right? It's crazy the amount of oak and moving barrels and I know, right? It's a lot.
We blended this and aged it in certain casks where we could put every moniker possible on this whiskey. That it is a first fill, second oak, whatever.
Yeah. Of course, it would be like that. Like Texas always wants to do it a little bit bigger than everybody else, right? I don't know if you've had that Angels Envy triple oak yet.
I haven't. I've seen it a million times, but I haven't had it yet.
I'm not going to say nothing. I wish it was more pronounced, basically.
Exactly what I expected. I mean, I had no desire to pick it up and try it on my own anyway. So I mean, that says it all right there.
I'll send you a sample of it. How about that?
Oh, good.
Because I mean, to me, it's like, oh man, I don't want to give my opinion on it. Never mind.
There's something you responded last week on Instagram, I think, to something, and I said, "Dang, oh, this is so dumb." It's the Fireball, whatever finished, whatever. Have you gotten a chance to try that?
No, I haven't. I threw that in there because I was like, somebody always has to have the stupid comment, right? I love doing that. Like anytime I'm in a text thread with somebody, I'll just throw memes at them the whole time. That's right. My kind of my profile, the way I do things. And so Fireball Reserve, why not? Right. I mean, I'm not against trying it, but at the same time, I'm like, I would rather and see. So one of the things that I don't do New Year's resolutions that much, but one of the things I told myself this year is I'm going to try, and this is a hard try, to not purchase any bottles this year.
Oh,
now,
okay. Try
because like I told you earlier, in March I will be going to Andalusia Whiskey to do their chili cook-off.
Oh yeah.
They already have 2 bottles set back for me, so I have to get those, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
every once in a while, a cool podcast releases a single barrel, and I'm like, well, crap. Okay, now I got to buy that. And I'm in a bourbon group where they go get single barrels, and they're like, hey, here's this blah 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 that came out, and I'm like, oh crap. But as you well know, doing a podcast, we get samples from people, and they like, here, try these samples, and I'm like, okay, so that's enough. That's enough for me. I tons of samples back here that I can just go through of these really cool distilleries that we're talking to. So like, why not showcase that? I'm not the one that goes after all the allocated stuff, and so that's just me though. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I don't know if you probably know Doc Martinez, right? From Old Fashioned Ways.
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, he's big in the Your Drinking Buddy Discord.
Cool.
He has a YouTube channel as well, but he sent me over the WLW because I'm going to do a blind flight of all the Wellers very soon. Coming soon, guys.
Awesome.
And he's like, I'll throw you the WLW. I think it's the 131.6. I don't know what year it was. I think it was 2022, maybe.
131. Oh no, 133.6 is 2023.
134.5. Sorry.
Oh, no idea.
Was way off. Yeah. And of course he sends, these little chinchy sample bottles, and I'm like,
nice.
Okay. I mean, I know it'll be great. All right, let's move on to 3. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm getting off topic again.
I do love the sentiment though of trying not to buy. It's like I tried to not buy the chill filtered single barrel. It didn't work out though. I ended up buying it.
I bought 2 actually, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
All right. Glass 3. Here we are on glass 3. Fortunately, I've nosed and sipped this already.
Good.
This is I would have never guessed that this was Texas whiskey.
Okay.
This is lighter, substantially lighter than what's in my mind for Texas whiskey. This is single malty. Mm-hmm. Here I go again. Wait, the last one. What was it? A single malt or no?
No, it was a straight. No, it was their bourbon. Okay. Yellow Rose distilled.
God, I love it. Okay. Well, here I am again saying single malt on this guy. It feels very light. It just, there's Texas whiskey in my mind is heavy, syrupy, rich. And this has so much more delicateness to it. And on the palate, I get some good like salinity, and I get the most prominent note for me on the palate is apricot. I get a really nice stone fruit apricot note on the palate. I'll take another sip here, and the last guesses I'll try to make is what proof it is and whether it's finished or not. But right now, I would say that this is well crafted. This feels well thought out whiskey. This feels like somebody who really knows what they're doing had a hand in making this, and they were. And assuming that this is a Texas whiskey, they were trying to set themselves apart from the Texas norm and try to do something that was halfway between Texas and Scotland.
I would agree wholeheartedly because I actually poured from the same bottle just now. I would agree wholeheartedly with you. And you don't have a distillery guess that you can think of?
No way. I'm just not well versed in it.
It's all good. It's all good. What about proof? What are you thinking on proof?
Oh yeah. Thanks. I just sipped. I'm definitely over 100. I'm maybe over 110. The meter is filling up as it goes here, as the sip goes. I think like 110 to 115 is where I'm topping out. So I think I'll say 112.
Okay. Awesome.
And I'll say, dang, this has a fruity flavor that's so prominent in it that like, it's like, how did it get this fruity apricot thing if it wasn't finished? So I think I will say that it's finished, but man, I just have no idea in what. But it's got a very flavorful fruity thing that impresses me a lot. How much would I pay for this? I'd pay 80 to 90.
Wow.
Because it feels again very well crafted and well thought out. So I'll stick with 80.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this is Again, all Texas whiskey is different, right? So this is none other than unbent straight malt whiskey. This is their bottled in bond series, so it's 100 proof,
Ooh,
4 year
okay.
old, 100 proof. This is 60% malted barley, so there you go, and 40% red winter wheat.
Okay.
It is
Cool.
not finished, and they are coming out of Lewisville, Texas, which is about 20 miles northwest of Dallas.
Okay.
You go over there a little bit, and their distillery, cool side fact, their distillery is in a old Piggly Wiggly. I don't know if you've ever heard of those.
I've heard of Piggly Wiggly, but I can't remember what it's deal
It's
if it's a
it's
gas
it's
station or
it's a
what.
grocery store. So their distillery is in a shut down grocery store. They actually found the sign from the Piggly Wiggly. It's in their tasting room. And one of the cool things they do something similar to what some of the Kentucky distilleries do. They have a fill your own bottle thing where it fills it up in that tube and you do that.
Mhm.
And they do have quite a bit of hazmat whiskey that they put out. Now this one they release at 100 proof. They have 5 different whiskeys that they release. It's all made by them. I was just texting their brand rep to get the mash bill on it because I knew it was over 51, obviously, because it's straight malt whiskey.
Mhm.
But I didn't know the exact mash bill, and he was nice enough to just text me over and let me know. So I gave Riley, you're awesome, thank you.
Nice. Shout
And
out.
I did a podcast with these guys as well, doing super cool things. They sent
Yeah.
over a couple of bottles, which was really awesome, and so this was a free bottle, and I appreciate that. When you can get a free bottle, I mean that makes
I
it
know.
the job worthwhile right there.
I know.
One of the other cool things is they use screw tops for their
Oh,
bottles,
yeah.
which I don't know if you guys have talked to Holiday Distilling yet.
Nope.
Okay, they do that as well, and I asked both of them why a screw top, because everybody wants to hear that cork pop, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, it doesn't leak, it's easier, and these are like the really easy, it's like almost a quarter turn lift off. And
Ooh.
he said, and they're cheaper. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And he goes, a real whiskey connoisseur isn't going to care. And I said, well, yeah, but there's some people out there that want that cork, and I get it. But I will tell you, this series is really amazing. They're doing some cool stuff. And if you haven't heard of Unbent, go check them out. They got some cool stuff going on.
Yeah. And I see that. That's like purist level, like
Mhm.
if a whiskey bottle doesn't have a cork, I'm not interested.
Exactly. Exactly. So you have the Brooklighty 18, right? And it has that
Yeah.
glass cork. That
Yeah.
that
It's
thing,
weird.
it scares me.
I don't know if I like it.
I have a bottle of Savage and Cook as well that has a glass cork on it, and I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm gonna either rip it off or break it. Like, and it's
Yeah.
really heavy, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
I struggle to call it a glass cork because, like, yes, the topper is glass, but then there's a plastic
Mm-hmm.
flange thing in
Mm-hmm.
there. It's like what is holding the cork in is plastic. Therefore, I guess
Yeah.
it's a plastic cork.
Yeah.
Again, nothing too wrong with that, especially
Semantics, of course,
if
but
you drink your whiskey within a reasonable time frame. I'm sure that that's fine, but it, like, I don't know, it's just weird. It feels weird when you pull the cork out. It's like it's trying to be a real cork, but at the same
Mhm.
time there's no sound. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
shunk when you pull it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
weird.
it is very strange. It is very strange. I mean, it's cool, and I guess they're going for that cool factor because they put that wrapper on it and all the other things. But
Mhm.
like, I don't know, like stick. I don't mean to tell Brooklighty anything because they make amazing whiskey, but like, kind of
Right.
stay in your lane. Don't venture out. Don't make it out of Swarovski crystal or nothing like that. Like, just stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Make good whiskey, which you do obviously do. I love the Brooklighty 18. It's
Right.
absolutely amazing. But like, stay in your
Yeah.
lane. Put a regular cork in it. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
As long as the juice inside is what it's supposed to be, and it is. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm on glass 4 now.
Awesome.
Glass 4. This is a curveball.
Okay.
This does not fit in with the other 3 to me. Glass 4 feels like it's trying to cover up something.
Oh.
Glass 4 feels like if the other three were legitimate whiskeys, glass four is like Fireball.
Mm,
There is a little dig there. So
okay.
read into that. Read into that a little bit. I feel like glass four is heavily finished.
Okay.
It hits me on the same vibe as something that was finished in Amburana for like a little too long to
Oh, okay.
try, because they took their whiskey and they're trying to cover up some kind of
Fault.
um
A fault in the
uh
whiskey.
youth or inadequacy with their whiskey. So there is a heavy influence of sugary cinnamon on this for me, that feels like it's not something that would naturally be there with a bourbon that was aged for a reasonable amount of time in
Mhm.
a new charred American oak barrel. I feel like this, I will definitely say, yes, this is finished right now.
Okay.
The proof, I'm somewhere 100 to 110. I'm working my way up a little bit, but there's a artificialness to this on the flavor that is not jiving with me relative to the other three pours.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm trying not to give away anything. This distillery, how do I say it the right way? Um, I agree with what you're saying. It's almost like an afterthought. It's like, hey, let's release a whiskey. Let's find. I'm trying not to incriminate myself. Let's find something and release it. And even though there was a lot of thought put in it, because I know there's a lot of thought put in it, it for me as well, and I'm on par with what you're saying. It didn't hit the spot for me either. So
Okay. I'm second sip. My proofometer is actually going way more up still. I
okay,
think I'm 120, maybe 120 plus now.
okay,
So it's definitely got some ABV here off the second sip that I'm differentiating from pure just like spice flavor.
right,
There's definitely spice flavor here, but there's also heat here. I might land right around 120 on proof. Maybe I'll take another sip here,
right.
but there was a red wininess that I got a little bit too. um Man, I don't want to just say that on every pour.
Right.
So definitively no, I don't think that this is red wine finished, but searching for other flavor notes here, there was a grapey thing here for me.
Okay.
um not a delicious Buffalo Trace grapiness,
Mhm.
but more just like, well, after the finish, well, after the spice is gone, what's lingering is a little bit of tannic oak, a little bit of grapey fruit. But mid palate, when you're sipping this thing, when it's actually on your taste buds, um, it's spicy, artificial cinnamon spice
Mm,
hot.
mm.
Uh, yeah. What else to guess here? I'm not going to guess distillery because I just have no idea, frankly. Proof. I'll go. Let's just put a pin in here. I'll say 122. This is finished. This is finished in something that's giving it that extra level of spice. That's all I got.
Okay. So this one to me is super interesting. Cool distillery, but again, felt like an afterthought. This is none other than Real Spirits Distilling straight malt whiskey. But look, it says made with malted barley, corn, rye, and wheat.
Corn, right,
So
wait.
it's cask strength, 58% alcohol, non-chill filtered, all the things.
Not the name of the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
nailed it.
So here's the story behind this. Real Spirits is a subsidiary of Real Ale. I don't know if you've ever heard of Real Ale. They make
No.
a beer. They make a beer called Devil's Backbone, Axis
Yeah.
IPA, all of those guys. It's the same company. And
Okay.
they literally have a shed out in the back with a still. And
Yes.
I think it's a 250-gallon still. They're doing 53-gallon barrels, but they're storing them in a Connex. And
Okay.
so in a shipping container. So,
Mhm.
and the issue is they are using the mash tun from Real Ale. to make their whiskey. So it is 85% malted barley, no matter what. So what they did was they took their 85% malted barley, did 15% corn, put that in a barrel, 15% rye, put that in a barrel, 15% wheat, put that in a barrel, and then blended them together.
Interesting.
And then, yeah. So there's only 15% adjunct grain, right? So the issue is it's very malt forward, but it doesn't taste like it because each one is getting so much heat from that connex. And they have little whirly birds on top of the connex and all that stuff to keep the airflow going through there.
Yeah.
But there's so much and like I said, it's only 58, but I say only 58, like it's nothing. But to me, and I think this was 3 years old, 34 months old. So not even 3 years old. And again, did a podcast with them as well. But to me, the story's super cool where they're like trying to revamp, and they did other things where they took beer recipes and turned them into whiskey, which is it's cool. It's cool,
Yeah.
but at the same time, feels like an afterthought. And some of the whiskey in there is subpar. And not in the way like I've pulled straight from the barrel. I did a thing over there with them, and their whiskey's good, but it's not hitting on all the marks that it should, I feel, especially when you do a lineup like we've done tonight or today. Not only I said tonight.
You're only 1 hour ahead of me. What's up with
that? Barely after lunch, but whatever.
You had little sleep recently. It's good.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I mean, to me, this one was. I don't want to call it a fail because if you can get whiskey to market, it's not a fail, and if people will buy it, it's not a fail. But at the same time, are you really showcasing the best part of that distillery? And this distillery is out of Blanco, Texas, which is probably about a so it's in between on the I-35 corridor between Austin and San Antonio. Okay. So there's like a line that goes straight through Blanco. It's there's a couple truck stops and whatever. But there are also some really cool distilleries there. Like Real Spirits is there. Milam and Green, if you've ever heard of Milam and Green, they're there. And Andalusia whiskey is also in Blanco, which nice. I will say best Texas whiskey in the world is Andalusia. So I will send you some Andalusia samples as well. Please do. I personally have got to work with them. I've got to mash in with them. I've helped distill. I've done all the things. They're very hands-on. They are one of the greatest, and anybody will tell you this, one of the greatest single malt distilleries in Texas, if not the greatest, just because they're doing it the old school way. And everything's pot distilled, 500-gallon pot, new 53-gallon. They put their single malts in new barrels. Super cool. And then sometimes they will finish them in a used barrel just to kind of make everything a little more cohesive. They were doing two-year-old. Now they're up to 4 years old. That's the minimum they're coming out with. I mean, because you got to start somewhere, right? For sure. And they do a peated line. They do a smoked line, which is smoked with post oak, applewood, and mesquite. So it has that little bit of smoke in there. It's very barbecuey, super nice. Anyway, we're not talking about Andalusia. We're talking about this one, but still, this one to me was it was not the greatest. Probably shouldn't even send it to you, but
not at all.
You got it.
Always,
you got
always down to try anything ever.
Yeah.
So running through here. So top to bottom, and by the way, I didn't guess type on the last one. Okay. Not a chance I was going to guess straight malt, not a chance. So yeah, I totally would have guessed the last one was a bourbon. Yeah.
Really?
No doubt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Running through favorite to least favorite. And so again, remind me now, as I say, which one, remind me what the bottle was. So favorite, I think my favorite whiskey out of all these was number 3.
Okay. That was the unbent straight malt whiskey.
Nice.
Really, really nice, really good flavors. Their bourbon, to me, just their bourbon was a little grassy, but all the other stuff, they have a wheat whiskey. They have a rye whiskey, which I haven't even opened yet. I need to get into it. I've heard it's excellent. They're doing like 60% of the main grain. So on the wheat, it's going to be 60% wheat. And then I think that one is corn, actually, which is kind of nice because you get that corn sweetness with the wheat whiskey. But yeah, they're doing cool stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Number 2 for me was glass number 1.
Okay. That was the Rebecca Creek double
Yeah,
Spanish
that's
oak.
right. That's right. And man, I think that one is the most Texas whiskey. Like what is in my mind for what Texas whiskey
Mhm.
is, that one was the most Texas
And it's the
whiskey.
one actually not Texas whiskey. So
Oh yeah, I know, right?
yeah,
Hilarious.
it's MGP, but whatever.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they
Uh,
they aged it. They aged it in Texas, so it's partially it's like a redheaded stepchild of Texas whiskey, but it's fine.
right. Yeah, sure, sure. Number 3 for me was glass number 2.
Okay, that was the Yellow Rose Mezcal finished.
Yellow Rose. And yeah, that mezcal. So I'll tell you, if I hadn't ever had a mezcal finish before, if I had never had this before, if
Mhm.
I saw a mezcal finish whiskey, I would be like, no way that I'm going to gamble on that. But now that I've actually had it, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
color me intrigued. I might actually purchase a mezcal finished whiskey for that funk that it gave it. That was
Right.
interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would tell you the Yellow Rose when I went to pick it up because I saw it at I think it was a Specs. I saw it at a Specs and I saw it on the shelf and it was like $55 or $60, whatever. My
Mhm.
buddy Doc Martinez, he lives in Brownsville, which is way down by the border. He sent me a picture of one that he saw. It was in the glass case for $180. And
Ooh,
I said, "No, we're not doing that. I will pick up the one that's there and ship it to you." And so I did
yeah.
that. So I picked up 2
Dang.
bottles when I did that for under the price of one at there. So it just goes to show you
Crazy.
people will mark stuff up. Now it is a special release, obviously, which I understand you pay
Yeah.
a little bit more for special releases, but yeah, no. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
Yep. Last number 4, again, recap what glass number 4 was, which was the
Last
last
number
place
4
for me.
was the Real Spirit straight malt whiskey made with malted barley, corn, rye, and wheat.
Very good.
15%.
15% wheat, you said?
No, 15% corn, 15% rye, 15% wheat. 3 different barrels together.
That's right. That's right.
Very,
Cool.
very, very strange.
Thank you so much for sending this. And,
Absolutely.
Cole, which we're missing today.
Yeah,
Cole, if you're drinking through this now live with us, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. So thanks.
absolutely.
We're going to move now into Whiskey World News and everything else. If any final thoughts on any distilleries, Randall?
Oh man, go out there and try some Texas whiskey. I mean, it's not what you think it is. Just try some. I know a lot of these distilleries have really good distribution now, so you should be able to find them. They're getting into Total Wines, they're getting into Specs. Go find them because when you support local, which would be local to me, maybe not you, but when you support local, you're supporting that community as well, and that's one of the big things that I'm all about. And I know you guys are as well. Is supporting that local community and keeping Texas alive. Not that we're not alive, but we're fixing to annex from the rest of the world. But anyway,
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, everybody sit tight here. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Whiskey World News and everything else. All right, everybody, welcome back. So we're leading into Whiskey World News now, and the Whiskey Shaman has an article he'd like to read for us. If you're ready.
So it's less of an article and more of an ad read. No, this is
Nice.
so we're getting into in Texas, especially we're getting into a festival season, which so there's 2 whiskey festivals coming up in March and April. In March 29th is the Whiskey Riot. I'm sure all of you have heard of Whiskey Riot.
I
It's
have
actually
not
okay.
actually.
Well, it's a traveling whiskey festival. And they do not just have Texas whiskeys. This is over 200 different brands.
Wow.
coming, and you go and try it. Well, they're going to be in Houston, Texas, March 28th. So go
Nice.
find your tickets, Whiskey Riot, whatever. But cool thing about what they're doing is it's like I say, it's traveling. So you'll have Pursuit Spirits, you'll have Penelope, all the guys that you know and love, everybody from Wild Turkey to Maker's Mark will be there. I
Nice.
don't know the exact lineup, so if I read wrong, I'm sorry. But from what I saw online, it's going to be a lot of Kentucky, Tennessee. I think even like Stranahan's and people like that are going to be at the show. So it's really cool. It's not just bourbon. It's also all types of whiskey. I think there's even a couple of gin and vodka distilleries that are going to be there to kind of mix it up a little bit. If you want to showcase, it's just a way for people to showcase their distillery and what they're doing. So make sure you go over there and check that out. And it'll be in Houston. I don't know the exact location. They haven't put it on their website yet, but go to Whiskey Riot and find that. And then the last one for me, this one's near and dear to my heart because they're a sponsor. But anyway, it's the Texas Whiskey Festival. The Texas Whiskey Festival is going April 12th at Star Hill Ranch in Bee Cave, Texas, which is about 10 minutes outside of Austin. So if you're planning a trip to Texas, make sure you do it around April 12th, because what's going to happen, we're going to have about 40 Texas-based whiskey distilleries giving away some whiskey. And a lot of times what they do is they will do special pours just for the festival. So they sell a VIP thing where you get a free cigar and you get to get in early, all the things that they do at some of those festivals. And then you can purchase a little wee Glencairn, walk around and try all this Texas whiskey. Everybody, Garrison, Rebecca Creek, Yellow Rose, all of these people will be there pouring their wares. And like I said, then you might get to try something you hadn't tried before. And it isn't the certified Texas whiskey, and we haven't talked about that yet, but it isn't all certified Texas whiskey. So there is some guys there that are doing finished spirits and also like flavored whiskeys as well. There's one called Iron Wolf that is doing a hot butterscotch flavored whiskey, and so it's like hot, like chili hot with butterscotch. It is so good. Like it burns. It's like eating hot honey. You ever had hot honey?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's like that, but with butterscotch. It is so good. And he made these little frozen cocktails the last time with that in there. Wow, it was so good. It was so good.
Frozen cocktail. That'd be good. Do they sell like bottles of the hot?
No. No, I mean, they do at their distillery. That's the bad thing about Texas in itself. You cannot sell bottles without having a retailer, right? So we're 3-tier. So one of the things is you have to go to a liquor store to buy it, or go to the distillery and buy it directly from them. So they have a giveaway, and I'll send you a picture of me winning one of the giveaways. I think I won 9 whiskey bottles that night, and it was a raffle that they did, and it was some really, really good whiskey distilleries in there. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. And I know we've all been to a whiskey festival before, but the Texas Whiskey Festival is that, but just, on steroids. We do it big. Obviously, we're from Texas. We're going to do it real big. And then at the end of the night, they do dueling pianos where they yell at you the whole time about you drank too much whiskey. You're fine. Go home. But it's a really cool spot. It's like an old Western town that they put it in. And so there's like vendors and stuff, and the guys are pouring whiskey for you. You get to hang out with people. There'll be a bunch of, influencers and stuff like that there as well. So it's a good time. April 12th.
Yeah, awesome. You said they're a sponsor. Is there any kind of like sponsor link or any sort of?
There is not. Just if you go tell them Whiskey Shaman sent you, and maybe he'll give me a pat on the back when I show up there.
Heck yeah, nice. Yeah, it's all about the pats on the back.
Absolutely, yeah. That's all. As a grown man, that's all a man needs, right? Is a pat on the back.
I know, right? Yeah, come on, just a little appreciation here. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned Whiskey Riot, and so Texas Whiskey Fest. Have you been to these before? Have you been to either before?
I haven't been to Whiskey Riot because this is the first year they're coming to town. I don't know if I'm going to make it because that's right. It's hard timing for that one. I want to go, but it kind of turns into hard timing for that one. But I've been to the Whiskey Festival 4 years in a row now, and it's just a lot of fun. It is. And then you meet people that that you saw last year there, and you just hang out. It's a fun time. And they're also, as we all know, if you're sampling from 40 different distilleries, Take it easy, drink water. You're in Texas. It's going to be, even in April, it's going to be hot. So, take it
Oh
easy,
yeah. Right.
but they have water stations and food and stuff like that. So you can,
Yeah.
hydrate and then go back to it. And they pour you the smallest amount because obviously nobody wants them to get, because it does go on for about 5 hours. So yeah, I
Ooh.
mean, you can go back and next thing you know, you're like, whoa, okay, I need to stop. So
I know,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's
I need to go visit Randall's barbecue / chili station over there.
I mean, I'm trying to get a station over there where maybe possibly doing like a live podcast over there, something.
Oh,
Who
hell
knows?
yeah,
Who
dude, that'd be
knows? Who
awesome.
knows? It would be a lot of fun. I'm going to talk to the coordinator about that because he's doing awesome stuff, and this is kind of what that guy does. He's all about Texas whiskey. Oh, and then they're going to do judge for that year. They're going to pick the best Texas whiskey of that year, and everybody lines up their best bottle, and then I got picked to be in the tasting part of that. So we do that like
Yes.
2 weeks before. We go to and we just go through, sit down, and try all the different whiskeys and pick the best Texas whiskey according
Dude, that sounds
to
awesome.
us. Which
Yeah,
we all know taste is very subjective. So
of
just
course.
take that for. But I have the best palate in the world. I'm joking. No,
Yeah, no,
no.
totally. That's why we had you on.
Absolutely no. Please stop. But yeah, no, it's so much fun. So make sure you go
Nice.
if you can.
Love it. Yeah, awesome. So moving in now to what whiskey would you choose? So last week on Instagram, we asked you, did you do dry January? So we had a whole poll set up where we had 4 different answers here. We wanted to know if, yeah, you did it, or you tried it, you didn't quite make it. Did you, just try to dial it back a little bit during January, or just no care at all? No, I didn't do dry January. So we had a good breakdown here. Now I'm going to break it down for most popular to least popular answer here. Most popular answer was nope. Our turns out our listeners do not typically do dry January. We had a 60% response here on the nope. Next up, though, was actually yep. So we did have 20% listeners here say yes, they did do dry January. And granted, we asked you with like 2 days to go, but you're
Yeah.
pretty sure you're going to make it. You said yes. Yes, I did do dry January, 20% there. Next up, 15% said I didn't fully abstain, but I purposefully drank a little less than normal, which is good. You got to take a little time off. So
Mm-hmm.
15% on the dial it back a little bit. And lastly, the 5% here said, I tried it. I didn't quite make it. We'll get into that here in the responses. We did get some write-in responses from some listeners here. So Bryce Marita B-side, he said, I don't drink enough for dry January to even be a thing.
That's good for you.
I know, right? Yeah. We appreciate you still listening, even though
Yes.
you don't drink enough for dry January to be a thing. Madtown marketer Ben Klepsik, he wrote in, he said, drinking my normal amount will be great. We'll do it again in 2026. God, 2026, just seeing the numbers 2026
Yes,
written down is like blowing
crazy.
my mind.
Yeah.
Your daughter's going to be 1 year into college in 2026.
Stop. Please stop.
All right. Paul Clarkson, he wrote in, he said, he said, I was going strong until everything was shut down for days because of snow. He made it 22 days into January and then decided to pull the plug on dry January.
I get it. When you're stuck in the house, you got kids running around. They can't do nothing. You've played Monopoly 6 times. You're like, I need a drink. I'm just saying, just something to get me over. Yeah, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
Play Monopoly 6 times. That sounds like a 24-hour endeavor.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. Not fun.
Did you have to deal with snow much with the big storm? Did you get snowed in?
It was horrible. We had an inch of snow. So yeah. 1 inch, yeah. And I mean, it shut down the school for 8 hours. So yeah, it was bad.
Wow.
It's like seriously. Here we don't get weather like that. We get sleet sometimes or something like that. Yeah. We get cold. It got down to teens. But yeah, it was one day, and they had called it off. They were going to have a late start for school. And then they were just like, we're done. Just don't come in today, And
I know,
everybody
right?
was, my son and daughter went outside and made snowballs with what they could, but they were like scraping up dirt and leaves with it. So it was like, probably rocks because, when you have two kids that get older, they love to fight. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, they just love to fight all the time. So it's like, good Lord.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. We got a write-in from Kilted 518 Miles Ferguson. He said he didn't do it in January because winter is when all the good malty beers are out. So he does a dry April and dry September.
Okay, cool.
Smart. Got a write-in from a new guy here. We got Carl Vihos. Yeah, tell me how badly I pronounced that in the comments. He made it more of a social activity, less creating at home. Sure, yeah. So dial it back a little bit. I like it.
Right.
Another new one here, Whiskey Punkard. Thanks for writing in. He said it's boring, but a nice restart. 5 years in a row now. We'll continue in the future. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
absolutely.
Always a dry January here for Whiskey Punkard.
Yep.
So we're going to ask you now a question. Whiskey Shaman's got a particularly Texas question for you.
Oh, it's me. Sorry. No. What whiskey do you drink when you're making or eating barbecue?
Nice. All right, I'll go first. So I don't have a lot of Texas whiskey here, but the epitome of Texas whiskey for me as a somewhat novice and what's been marketed and available to me in a state outside of Texas is Garrison.
Right.
And I did pull the trigger a couple of years ago. I bought the Garrison Cowboy. I think it was the hazmat one in 2023. And I got this much left a little bit. But if I'm pecan wood smoking a brisket or something, I'm going to want the heaviest, syrupiest, highest proof whiskey possible. So I'm going to go with Garrison Cowboy.
Awesome. Well, I will tell you, coming fresh off the heels of the barbecue competition, like I was saying earlier, I sent over, I brought a bunch of whiskeys for us to try, and they were all, they had too many beers, so they couldn't have them. And so my pour while I was making barbecue, and I sent the picture to you, was actually E.H. Taylor's single barrel.
Nice.
I come to find out it had a little bit of a smoky note to it, or maybe it was just enveloped in my body.
I'm
and
sure it
mouth.
worked.
And it was really nice. The 100 proof, like it sung to me. And of course, passing it around the campfire for everybody to try. It's all set and setting when it comes to whiskey. And
sure.
I mean, we could have had a bottle of Fireball, and it probably would have been just as good. But other than that, I'm picking something a little smoky, probably something a little smoky to just amplify that. So
that's the I know what I'm doing. That's the professional answer, because when you're smoking a brisket, you're smoking it for 8 to 12 hours or something.
Yep.
So you're not going to want to drink 140 proof whiskey for 8 to 12 hours.
No, you're not. Something a little lighter. I would say even just the Lafroig 10 at 43%. Perfect. Have one or two pours while you're going, sip them. Do a game where like every hour you go check the coals, check the temp, take a little sip, go back, you're good. I mean, that's the best time.
I love it. Well, so now we're thinking about next week here. Now Cole will be back next week, and I was thinking, like, what are we going to drink next week? I don't know. Cole obviously gets the chance to choose here, so we're going to have a pour of Cole's choosing next week. Whatever you want, Cole, please. Let's have whatever you want. And that's what we're going to do next week. And closing out here now, Randall, the Whiskey Shaman, please.
Let's go.
Tell us everything. Tell us what your Instagram is. Tell us what your podcast is. Tell us all the things. Where can people find you?
Okay, so funny story. The _ Whiskey Shaman on Instagram, because somebody stole the Whiskey Shaman. And I tried to buy it from him. And he was like, no, he has one post on there from like 4 years ago.
Wow.
And my podcast is of the same, the Whiskey Shaman. We have a lot of fun. I do every Sunday. I do a deep dive of a bottle, and I try to post a whole lot on there, either dank memes or something. I try to support the people who have supported me through the past. So, you know, Chill Filter put something out, I repost their stuff, you know, whatever. And then the podcast releases every Saturday morning. And it's interviews and deep dives and all the things. Come hang out. It's a lot of fun.
Love it. Well, I hope that when people are searching for the Whiskey Shaman, I hope that people actually search for the_ Whiskey Shaman.
Well, and it has my logo, my little shaman face logo.
Yeah.
I used to look like that before cancer, and you know now, but then like I started growing the hair back, and my wife goes, I like it short, and I like the beard a little shorter. She goes, it makes you look sexy. I'm like, you know what? She thinks I look sexy. I ain't growing it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like
right.
The only one I gotta impress is her. We've been together for way too long. I'm still trying to impress her. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that is what it's all about. Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you're searching, you know, look for that Instagram account that has more than one post
and more than one follower, because you know.
Yeah, right. What are you hoping for, Randall?
I don't know. I hope that you guys are able to keep your spirits up in 2025.
Love it. And I hope that y'all are ready for Cole to be back next week, and we'll do an episode on a pour of Cole's choosing. But most of all, I hope our love of whiskey lifted your spirits. They're making chili, and they like look over their shoulder and they pour a couple of beans in, and then the police kick the door in and they come. You're under arrest.